had a very detailed 100-page report on just about all of them. And, if anybody wants to open up conversation, go right ahead. Well, all right, let's move forward. Let's go through the candidates real quick, I would think. I don't have too much practice at it. I only did it once with Paul, but we have Tandra. And anybody want to speak about Tandra? Anybody want to speak about? Next one is TJ Fish. Anybody want to speak about TJ Fish?
Well, basically what I did is I just, excuse me, started with the 8 and then just began to pare down from there. So my long list basically consists of 6 candidates. My short list is roughly 3 to 4 candidates.
Well, that's a good point. There's a couple of different ways we can do this. We could try to figure out between us, do we want to see them all, which probably we don't, or which ones we do want to interview, which could take forever. So Anita had another way that the headhunter presented to us. And do you want to introduce that, Anita?
So the recruiting firm sent me, he calls it a straw preference poll, and it would be for each of the council members to select of the 8, put your top 5 choices that you would want to interview. And then he gave me another spreadsheet I can put your information in based on what each council member marks, and that would tell you your agreement on the top 5. If you want to proceed that way. That was an alternative he suggested.
So does anybody have 6 people they want to interview? Because we're only looking at 5 on that process.
No, there's only 5 on my list.
Brian? Yeah, do you have more than 5?
I only have 3.
3, okay.
I only have 3.
4?
Mm-hmm.
I'm good with 5.
5. Okay, I would say why don't we give that a shot and see what we think, but it seems like the fairest way to do it, and everybody just fill one out real quick here and give it to Anita, and she can punch it in while we move on to the next subject, and then tell us what the results are. Is everybody all right with doing that? Brian, you're okay with that?
There's no other option, so.
Yeah. Grant, you're okay with it?
Yeah.
Jimmy?
I'm fine.
Carol?
Yeah, I think it's a good process of elimination.
All right, let's try that, Anita. That'd be wonderful. That would get this less painful. I'm sure we all spend a lot of time looking at the stuff, but we all going to have our own opinions on it. Thank you. So what do? We check in order of number, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5?
You can, if you want to do it that way. His was just to mark the top 5, and then those would be whoever got the most.
Okay.
Would be the 5 you would interview.
All right, that sounds fair. All right, I got mine. You guys done?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, if you pass them this way, I'm going to give them to Anita. Oh. Well, it's public record.
It will be once she looks at it.
Yeah.
Yes.
All righty, so I guess we'll move on, and then we can come back to that on how we picked what we picked. All right, let's go on. Discussion regarding. All right, but Paul, if you want to take the lead on this discussion regarding town manager contract extension, what this is Sorry, let me do this real quick. How I'm understanding this is we have, it's gonna take the rest of this month and probably half of, next month, if not more, to, get somebody picked and then negotiate a contract. I would say it's gonna take until October. So, and that's if nothing happens, like the guy or the girl drops out, or something comes up and we find out something about the person. Who knows what could happen? So, what's being presented is that we, instead of resigning in September, first part of September, we extend that. The person, when the person gets hired, we can reevaluate it. But my personal opinion is that, knowing the projects that we have, the water tower, the stormwater, and then 4 other pieces of money that I'd like to make sure we spend and not lose. And we have Montverde coming up and Christmas, and anybody that's done them knows they're a nightmare to put together and execute. I would like to see we keep Paul on when he keeps managing, and then when he's agreed to do this. And let's say we hired a guy and it's the end of middle of October the guy starts. Well, at that point, Paul would only manage help manage the big projects. He wouldn't come to work inside the town hall. He wouldn't. He would, work with me and you and the new manager to make sure those projects keep forward. The new manager would be able to come in and get their feet wet, understand the whole operation here and the employees and public works, and then move on to take over what Paul's watching over for us in the meantime. But remember, at the end of come September, everything moves towards Montverde. Everybody in this building works for Montverde. And someone coming in here and not knowing how to do Montverde will be a big problem. So, I would like to make sure he's involved with that, and if the new city manager starts, then they could work together on that. But mostly I'm just afraid that the grant money doesn't get screwed up and we do execute it correctly and then hand it off to the manager that we hired, and Paul drops out.
I need clarification on two, between you and Vice Mayor Willett, if you could sign yours.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't sign mine. Just mine.
You didn't sign yours? Okay. You're right.
Thank you, sorry. So that's how I see it in a nutshell. I'll open it up to the council.
Well, I think part of the goal is a smooth and seamless transition, and I can't really speak to anybody's qualifications or abilities to catch on and come up to speed with as many things as that we have going on right now, plus the Christmas and Montverde. In my opinion, that I think is my focus, is just to make sure that whoever it is that comes in does get their hands on the reins and works closely, at least initially, with Paul, to gain a knowledge and understanding of what all is going in, and however long that takes, preferably the sooner the better. But if we have the caveat of reevaluating the extension at any point in time, it probably works better for the transition.
Okay, anybody else?
I think both holidays are really important for the community, and I think I would like to also see Paul be able to help transition and train him, so that we don't lose the spirit of what's been done. I know that Christmas is obviously a huge undertaking just watching it be put up over quite a few weeks, or a month, I'm sure. And Montverde is a huge event, and I know it's one that a lot of people look forward to. So I think it's important just to keep that tradition going. I mean, you know, everybody wants the small town feel, where those are two of the biggest things throughout the year that people look forward to. So when the weather's cooling down and everybody starts to come together as a community. So I think it's important that those two events are done well.
I forgot to add, I had to manage 2 hurricanes right before Mount Verde, and Paul got to experience that too. Huh, Paul?
Yes, that's always fun.
It was, that's an absolute nightmare. It couldn't get worse. And so you're 4 weeks away from Mount Verde, and here comes a hurricane. So that happens. So again, that's something else that can happen. Do you want to add to that?
No, I think it's just the easiest way to go forward until we lock in a candidate.
Where are we with the PTO? Are we still working away at that, or is that?
Oh yeah, we're eating it up, but I don't think he understood he was going to work as much as he is working. I'll say that.
So
I'm on
Yeah,
the phone
no,
every day
I'm
with
over.
him. You know.
any idea what's remaining in your PTO account? Just ballpark.
Probably about 130 hours or so,
Yeah.
from that ballpark.
Yeah, and that's reasonable
I
to kill.
Yeah, we're at about 20. And just to be clear, once the new town manager starts, new town manager needs to be the town manager, whatever is set up. I think you got 2 scenarios. If you get somebody hired soon, like say mid-September, if that falls into place, I don't know if that will or won't, but if that falls into place, then that person will at least have the ability to be here for a little bit and kind of be here for the events. Likely, as I look at the schedule just going through, you know, I do see this kind of going into October, November, because once you get them selected, they're going to have to give 30 days notice. You're going to have a couple of weeks of contract negotiation back and forth. And so that likely, not saying it will, but it could. Then to get through the change of the budget, we have 3 events: trunk or treat, Montverde, Christmas program. And again, the fiscal year flips. So you have all that plus the evals that got done with staff. Then you almost just need to start the candidate right at the 1st of December. Then I'd be willing to work through the 1st of December. Then at that point, if I work to help with the capital programs, that's all I would do, and just be available if the manager needs to make a phone call to me. Hey, I got a question about this or a question about that. I can't get in the middle of town hall or town hall business or anything once that new town manager comes on. I got to respect that position. So just to be clear on that.
Yeah, he would stay away from town hall, and everybody would start focused on working with the new manager. Brian, you got anything?
I have several things. I guess if we could backtrack a little bit, how did this conversation come about? Who brought it up first? Was it Paul? Was it town attorney, the search firm?
Actually, it was me, because realistically, I'm looking at, we're not going to get, by September, first week in December, there's not going to be anybody hired.
Okay.
And that's a big problem.
And I assume you already discussed that with Paul, and Paul said he's on board.
Well, he wanted to talk to you guys about it, because I don't make that decision. We do.
I mean, it would have to be a contract amendment come through. So you guys will actually see some. I'll put a proposal in front of you. I just want to start the discussion, have the idea, and see what everybody wants to do. And council's not happy, you know, September 7th, and that's the day, but you also then will need an interim manager, because you're not going to have you're not going to have someone started by September 7th. The schedule doesn't even allow for that right now.
So you said amendment. What exactly are we amending?
You would do more than likely, Anita would have to put it together. We haven't done anything yet, but we would have to put an amendment to my contract that would extend it out to whatever that date is, to the start of the new manager, or a date in December. And it would have some different terms in it.
Because I went through the contract, and at least from what I got from it, the original agreement states that the term is for indefinite term and at-will employment. at least my understanding from that is it doesn't have an expiration date. The
That's
September,
correct.
whatever date, I assume was a verbal, that's your last day. It wasn't because the contract is ending then, so I would say I would want to know first, if that's the case, we don't have to do an amendment. We could just agree on a date. And then once we cross that little hurdle, is it going to be at the same rate? Everything else will stay the same retirement contribution, same PTO? Are you earning PTO? Are you not? Like, you know, this could get very detailed, so it's not just an easy question of like, let's just extend. So I would like all those details up front. I'm not pre-agreeing to anything until I see the full details. I understand this is a transition. Many municipalities, you know, in a perfect world, yeah, you know, you're going to want your current town manager to stay on board and have the new town manager come on, and in a perfect world, but, you know, unfortunately, we don't live in a perfect world. So, and also, you know, I put myself in your shoes. Obviously, you know, I assume you planned early in this year to leave, and we're kind of keeping you here. There's certainly no obligation on your end. So, you know, to me, it's I'm looking at it from that aspect. Like, is it fair to you? Again, this is just my opinion. You know, your resignation came in, you know, obviously at this point a few months ago. So, but anyways, my thing would be I would like to see exactly what the terms are. What are we exactly amending and extending? And
Yeah, and I agree with that statement. That's why I want to bring an amendment so everybody's clear on what's going to change and not change.
yeah. Also, I don't want to feel like you're also pressured because the rest of the council just voiced that. Obviously, we have Montverde, we have Christmas, and now they're kind of guilt tripping you in a sense. You know, so again, I'm looking at it from that aspect, from a fair point. You know, don't feel compelled to have to do it. We will be just fine. We will just survive just fine. If it's one thing I learned in the Marine Corps is that there's a chain of command. So obviously, there's a successor to you. If, you know, the day of tomorrow you leave and we have no one, we continue and move on. We still have to obviously decide who the new candidate is, and hopefully we come to an agreement by Monday. Then we'll know more exact dates as to when that person could start. For all we know, they could be ready to go in a week. It's just really contract negotiations, and I'm pretty sure that shouldn't be much of an issue since obviously, you know, salary-wise, we're within range. So that's just my 2 cents.
Well, I do agree with Brian in the fact that anytime you're ready to say, that's it, I'm officially retired and on vacation full-time, you have that option, and I think you realize that.
I mean, obviously, I care about the town and want to see the town move forward positively. We have $20 million of projects in the queue coming up, and want to make sure those get handed off and for the benefit of the town. So, but yeah, I'm looking forward to retirement here in the near future, definitely. So we're at least slowing down.
So it's your way of saying the end is in sight.
Yeah, but I want things to go smooth through town. The town has a lot of things open right now and a lot of stuff on the way, and the first few months of a manager is which you have a lot of candidates of manager experience, and you guys are very blessed to have a great group to choose from. And but most of them are just going to want to sit, look, and observe for the first 90 days. That's pretty typical of most managers. They don't want to make too many changes right at the beginning, so they want to kind of see what to go and go with the flow, get a feel for the council, get your priorities, and understand the town better.
Okay, so here we're just trying to get, if everybody entertains this idea, and then we can work through the details of, like Brian's mentioning. And you could get with Anita, right, Paul, and figure out if you want anything changed, and then we could say yes or no. And, if we say no, then we just can't do it. But if we say yes, then we move forward. But right now, I'm thinking all we're trying to do is get everybody to agree or not agree that we're willing to move forward with this idea.
Yeah, I just didn't want to throw an amendment on the table and have everybody shocked that it's coming. I mean, I know I've had conversations with some council members individually and talked with the mayor, and so just wanted to throw things out there before we do it, so everybody's kind of on the same page. And you're right. And we could look at it. You know, there are a couple things, not major, just got to kind of deal with the comp time at the end because, you know, I'll be coming right into all these events and, you know, it's going to be up to 60-hour work weeks again and stuff like that. And kind of how it's set up right now, it's not conducive for me, you know, just to come in for 2 or 3 months, do all that, how it's written. So I need to deal with that a little bit too. Just some simple things.
Any interest in maybe looking at a consultant type of role when it gets to that point?
I have a couple ideas to kind of help, you know, transition the town with the capital projects only. I'll throw that in agreement. And it'll just be, you know, something in the 15-hour a week range that's just going to be for those large capital projects, street projects, and the maybe assistant with the development stuff. It kind of depends on who you end up getting to. You know, some of your candidates have some backgrounds in development and grant writing, and some don't, and they have great skills in other areas. So I think that'll unfold as you go through the process.
Thank you.
All right, so are you okay with moving forward with it, Brian, without the, just as far as the idea, not the detail?
I don't think it matters. You guys already made, you know, you already stated that obviously you want him here, so
No,
I'm outvoted.
I'm
I'm okay with just moving forward with the original plan. We'll figure it out.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Grant, you okay with just moving forward with the idea and work out the details in the next week or so?
Yeah, I'd like to see a drafted contract before, I mean,
Mhm.
obviously, and then we make a decision from there.
Well,
make
yeah, we're not
amendments.
agreeing to anything right now, just that
The idea of it.
that we spend time doing it, putting the contract, you know, together. You okay with that, Carol?
I am, because I think it helps with a smooth and quick transition.
Jimmy?
I'm fine with it. I agree. I'd like to see the contract when it's ready and see what Paul wants to do. I thought he was more, as long as he's on board with helping.
Okay, good. I can tell you that if we don't do it, we'll have to cancel Montverde. It's just there's no way any of us could do it. And, I mean, I've done 20 of them, but I don't want to do it. Let me put it that way. All righty, so, what should we do here, Anita? You two talk it out and then send it to us where you guys decide what Paul wants, and then we can have it in one of our topics in the next meeting?
Yeah, that's fine. I can get with Paul and he can, how I would approach it is he gives me what he's requesting,
Mhm.
and then that's what would come before the council for you to give direction.
Okay,
I don't feel
Okay.
like I'm in a position to negotiate with him.
okay, great.
Okay.
All righty, thank you very much.
Something else to add in, if we can, Paul, is it possible to get some sort of transition plan written out by you? Obviously, we're short on time, I get that, but just something essentially where we could kind of run off, regardless of whatever scenario we go in. And then also for the council members to kind of have a better idea as to, you know, really what's to come, I guess.
If you could list maybe some of the projects in a priority order. I know some are larger than others. What you think are the most important ones to tackle first?
Yeah, it seems like right before I resigned, I did a PowerPoint with all the projects that are out there. And we can definitely go through those and kind of get those ranked. I'm currently working on updating all of our staff's position job descriptions and make sure those are current because a lot of them have taken on different roles in their primary role plus in different roles. So I'm working on trying to get those updated to assist the manager. And like I said, if whatever I have, I'm going to work something in there where I can be on call for the manager. So if he has questions, and because usually I probably want to hear, you know, most managers want to hear from 30 days after 30 days. So start getting a lot of questions. Hey, what about this? What about that? Some won't, some will, but I'll try to work that into that agreement too.
Thank you.
Quick question, Paul. How many, I guess, open positions do we have currently?
We have two in, well, I guess we have two in public works and a part-time library person.
My personal opinion is, I say this council places a freeze on hiring until we get a new town manager. So, you know, obviously the new person could assess and see what they need or don't need, and, you know, for them to be the ones to interview. That's just my 2 cents. But back to the report, I think it would also be beneficial to put the contact key people for all the projects. Again, I'm looking at it as a handoff. It's like a football. Just pass it on, and everyone goes on their way. So That's just something I want to bring up about the open positions.
Alrighty. All right, well, thank you very much. Let's keep it rolling here. Discussion, let's
I
go
have the
to,
tally if you would like it.
oh, good.
So there were 5 there were 3 votes of 5 people. The 5 that received 3 votes of council are Tandra Davis, Terry T.J. Fish, Dwayne Flowers, Glenn Irby, and Charles Chad Morris. The following received 2 each, Cameron Horvath and Sean O'Keefe. And then Mark Rooney received 1.
So it's going to be Tandra, Fish, Flowers, Glenn, and Chad?
Correct.
Who the top 5?
If you wanted to interview all 5, those are the 5 that received 3 votes of council.
Well, I think it's safe to say we want to interview them, right? You want to interview them, Brian?
What was that?
You want to interview those 5, right?
I only picked 3. There's a few of them that have been terminated by previous councils, so, and they're on that.
Well, I
top
mean, the
5
council's
list.
picked 5, so. You just want to interview 3?
I have 3.
Okay. You want to interview 5 or 3?
5's fine for me.
Carol?
Be the oddball out and say 4.
Okay,
No, we'll go with 5.
okay, and I'll say 5, so. Well, the council's in favor of interviewing the 5 that you named. So how do we do that, Anita?
So I'll share the list with the recruiting firm, and then they will set up the interviews. So now you just have to decide, do you want to follow the original schedule and have all 5 come in person for your individual interviews with them, followed by the group interview in the public meeting? Or do you want to go with the alternative schedule, which allows for virtual meetings of the first 5?
Well, now, 2 of these people are in Florida, if I'm looking at it and remember correctly, Fish and Irby or whatever, Glenn. I think those 2 are in Florida. I would think that they would come to the interview, and then Tandra, Dwayne, and Chad are not in Florida, but I think 2 of those are in Georgia, weren't they? I would have to look, but either way, I guess we can come up with a day and give them a choice. Well, they can come here, or they can do a Zoom for their first interview. What do you guys think?
Tandra and Flowers are in Georgia.
Georgia? Okay. So they might want to drive here, I don't know. I guess we could give everybody the choice of driving here, and if they can't, then we do the Zoom for the first interview. And then we pick, who knows, 2 or 3 of them, maybe just 1. But let's say we pick 2 and we had a second interview with those 2. And hopefully we can come up with a winner and move forward. That sound like a way to do this? Council?
I think we talked last week that we would just do all virtual just so it'd be fair across the board. And we just virtual all 5 together, and then
Well, I'm just gonna, I'd like to give them all a choice, but that's up to you. They wanna come in and do face-to-face. I'd much rather see somebody face-to-face and.
sure, yeah.
I kind of see the virtual interview as one more screening process before we go face-to-face.
Right, but like, I don't know, who is it? This Glenn guy, maybe he lives in Apopka. I remember he had Apopka on his resume. And he could drive down, and you'd be standing in front of you. What do you think, Grant?
I think Zoom for the first meeting is fine as well.
All right, let's do Zoom then. So you want to figure out what day is Zoom? Let's see.
That would be all done in chamber?
Yes, it would
Okay.
be here, it'd be a public meeting. Scott had already spoken to all the candidates and let them know the original date of August 28th was still good for them. So would council be okay with continuing doing the virtual interviews on the 28th?
First 5, right?
Of those 5,
Yeah.
yes, sir.
Yeah, that's fine with me. Is everybody okay with the 28th? Anybody not okay with the 28th? Okay, so what are we gonna try, like all afternoon, like 12 to,
I think he recommended, but it's up to you. I mean, I think he recommended if you were doing virtual, I thought he said about 20 minutes for each candidate.
And just to clarify, you did say August, right? 28th?
Yes. Yes.
It was 30 minutes per candidate on the original interview schedule.
Okay. And for the virtual, in his email, he said, if you choose the option of the virtual, recommend conducting short introductory interviews about 15 to 20 minutes in length. But obviously, it's up to you to set that time if you want more.
I guess what I'm asking, what time of day we do to start?
I prefer the morning.
Morning, what time? 6?
7?
I
Good,
mean,
6.
8 o'clock.
So you wanna start the interviews at 8 o'clock?
That's enough if that works for everyone else. Just throwing it out there. I'd rather only take up half a day and rather have it be the morning than my afternoon on a Friday.
It's hotter in the afternoon.
It's sort of the time everything starts going wrong.
Does anybody have a problem with starting at 8 o'clock in the morning
I'm fine for the morning.
on that Friday, 28th? Brian, you okay with that?
Sure.
Okay. All right, so let's target that, and if we can't do it, let us know, Anita. Appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you.
Before we move on, can we walk through a few other things in regards to the interview? I just want to clarify, so we're on the same page. The 28th is going to be 5 interviews at 30 minutes apiece, starting at 8 a.m. Is that what I'm tracking?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Are we going to decide that day from those 5? Or are we going to leave the actual final decision for a different day? And then, or are we going to do like a final in-person interview, or I'll say panel interview? So I just want to be clear as to what happens once we have these interviews on the 28th.
My vision would be that we pick at least 2, maybe 3, and we do a face-to-face with them another day.
Now, when you say face-to-face, is as a panel?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they would stand in front of us, and we would drill them for 2 hours.
And I think it would be a good idea to just hash out what that date will be. I know that the search firm expressed that obviously you don't want to keep these candidates out there too long. They could possibly be poached or just lose interest, so we could rather move quickly. If we do it the 28th, one of the options was to do the final decision on the 31st. So we could do the panel interview in the morning on the 31st and then just decide either right after that or in the afternoon.
Well, what do you guys think? I personally would go for a week, like if we do the
It might be
28th.
hard for someone that's out of state to travel over
That
the
quick.
weekend like that and get that lined up. from Friday to-
I think you're asking what decision we will make after the virtual. How quickly
Yeah.
we'll.
Well, I guess let me back up. Did you guys read the email from the search firm with the 2 different schedules that was sent either earlier today or last night?
I didn't-
Did you guys read the email from the search firm with the 2 different schedules?
Yes.
That's what I'm referring to. That's exactly what they put in there. We could pick the 28th, do the 5 interviews, 31st, make our final decision, do the panel interview, or we could do the 28th, the 5 interviews, and then we could do September 4th, one-on-one or panel interviews, and then make the decision on September 8th.
I personally don't want to pick on the 28th. I'd rather think about it a few days on who I want to pick out of that, and all of them interviews. So I would need a few days just to pick two or 3 people to come down here.
So you're thinking maybe give an answer on the 31st and then schedule the 4th for the in-person interview?
Well, again, like we were talking about, somebody has to fly in. It's an awful short notice for somebody that has to come from Oregon or Illinois or wherever these guys are from. What do you think, Anita?
So the dates that were originally published were seen by the candidate, so they're aware of those dates. He did talk with them, I believe, about the September 4th, the September 4th date. So if you were able to choose on the 28th, if you wanted to bring people here to do in-person interviews, once you've narrowed it down, then I think he thought there was sufficient time to bring them in for September 4th. You would do your one-on-one interviews if you want to, or if you just want to do the panel interview, you could just do that. And you could decide that same day, or you could select on September 8th at your normal council meeting. That was the alternative schedule.
That's too quick for me.
I guess help me understand what's the concern? The packet that they gave us was 848 pages. They have everything from articles online. When I did my research, there's nothing I found online that they missed. They were pretty thorough. Everything's in front of us. Really, the only missing piece is the interview, just to get a sense of who they are. And I don't feel like it's necessary to sit on it for a week. It's more to interview, confirm what your research is, and then let's move on.
Yeah. No, I understand that. I just don't want to do it. I want to have time to think about it. I understand the city manager's position pretty good after managing the town myself for 5 years. And it's a lot more involved than people realize. And I just need time to think about. I got some research being done on two of the individuals that we picked here, because I'd like to do my own research. And I also called 3 different city managers I know to ask them their opinion on 2 of the candidates. So I have that in my pocket too that I have to think about. I guess I'm one of those managers that just don't rush.
I mean, when it comes to the schedule, I think the part that concerns me is giving the applicants plenty of time for travel if that's what's needed.
I want to highlight something that was in the email. He did say on there, asking candidates to interview on the 31st and then return for an in-person interview later that same week is not ideal. He also recommended, obviously, not going much into September. Keeping candidates engaged is one of our top priorities, and strong candidates do not remain available for long. So the longer we sit on this, the more likely it is that we may lose 1 or 2, which could turn out to be our top picks. So this is from the search firm themselves. So they're the ones, and they also highlighted that initially they told the candidates 27th, 28th, so everyone had in their mind those dates, and now we're just pushing it out. So just food for thought.
Okay, what do you guys want to do?
If we make our decision on the 28th after all of the virtuals, what is a reasonable amount of time, assuming that our candidates, with the furthest ones away, are Michigan, Oregon, what's a reasonable amount of time to allow them to travel from here, from there to here? I mean, whatever the schedule says, that I think that's what we're trying to play beat the clock with. So,
Well, the alternative schedule that he put together provides for them to come back on September 4th in person. So he believes if you narrow the pool on the 28th, he would give them notice of that, and that they would be able to come here on September 4th to be in person. And I'll have to look, because I think Councilmember Rogers said that the 2 that you chose that are not in Florida are in Georgia. I can pull their
Right.
it's
document.
possible.
I think Chad is the only one that's the farthest.
Where's he from?
He's the one from Oregon.
Oregon? Oh, yeah.
2 from Florida, 2 from Georgia, and then he's from Oregon.
not a bad travel, that's for sure.
In the meantime, town attorney, can you send us the tally sheets that we all completed and send it out to all of us, please?
Yes, and
Thank
I saved the one that I created with the tally, so I can circulate that as well.
Thank you.
I'm not opposed to making a decision on the 31st and bringing them in on the 4th. Again, I think there's a huge difference between the geographic locations, and Georgia shouldn't be a bad run in a matter of a few days. They gotta know something's coming, so.
So you're gonna tell the guy in Oregon we'll make a decision on the evening of the 31st. So on the 1st, you're gonna tell the guy in Oregon he has to be here.
I don't have the locations, and to be honest with you, I don't remember who is exactly from where, but I don't think it.
It's
do we
right
have
here.
some-
I got it right here, Oregon, Chad Morris,
Oh, is it Chad?
Oregon. And so he has 3 days to get here.
Yeah, that won't work.
Great.
I thought they were Georgia.
You did select the 28th, correct?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay, all right.
that much we did.
Yeah, we could probably tell people, get together on the 31st, but
How about the 4th? That gives them 6 days.
get what?
So if we do the five interviews on the 28th, and we do it the following Friday, which is the 4th, that gives them about 6 days.
Oh, you mean have to make a decision on 28th and not the 31st on who we want?
Well, the 28th to narrow it down from the 5,
Mhm.
bring them in on the next Friday, September 4th. We do the panel interviews, take a break for an hour, deliberate, come back, make our final decision. That way they know, because they're going to be here for the in-person interviews, and just wrap it up that same day.
Mm.
Or we could essentially do the panel interview on the 4th, and then on the 8th, which is our next regular meeting, we could just decide then as to who. That gives, I assume, plenty of time, like you said, Mr. Mayor, that you wanted to research some more. And then it gives you some more time even after the panel interview. So once we really narrow it down, it gives you more time still to really look into them if you need to. And that's what was proposed as the second option from the search firm.
All right, I'm sorry, I was confused. You're saying 28th, we talked to him.
Yeah, 28th, we do the five interviews.
Yep.
28th. The following Friday, September 4th, we could have them come in. That gives them about 6 days, 6.5 days for them to fly in and get settled in. On that day, we do the panel interviews. That same day, in the afternoon, we could pick, or we could just leave the picking for the final one on the September 8th meeting. And then that will buy you an extra few days, 4 days, for you to do research even after we have them in front of us. Because that could change your mind on some of them.
And just out of curiosity, once we make our pick and we offer them the position, roughly what's an appropriate time frame from assuming they accept, once they accept the offer, from that point to their first day on the job? Any ballpark ideas?
We're going to have to have a contract put together. Those terms will have to come to council, what they're asking you for. You'll have to give direction whether you're agreeable to that. Put the contract together. You'll have to approve the final contract, and then they would give notice. If they're currently employed, they may give up to 30 days notice. Most professionals give a 30-day notice. Some of them, I think, on your list may not be employed currently, so obviously that 30 days could be reduced, perhaps.
Okay, so technically it could be as quick as 30 days. I mean, if we came up with the agreement and the contract and everything that needed to be signed, and they were happy with it, and it was all signed, the very next day you get to come to work. Is that?
Once the contract's approved, then they can come to work.
All right.
It's just a matter of how long is it going to take you to come to terms and what you want in the contract.
And being that we meet once a month, well, no, we could have special meetings, I guess. Okay. I'm gonna go with 30 days. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's 6-7 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm in agreement with that. We just bring them in on the 4th, and we'll make our final decision on the 8th. Does that give you enough time to think about what you want to think about?
I'm sorry, you're gonna make a decision on who we're gonna bring in on the 28th, is that right?
No, on September the 8th. By that point, we should have narrowed the margins to 3. And from the 3, we make our decision that night.
Yeah, let's do it. Did you guys read all of Dwayne Flowers' long file?
No,
Yeah.
The majority of it.
I was surprised to see that he wrote a letter explaining that he stole, as a police officer, he stole $900 from his employer, got caught, and repaid it. And he also admits in the same letter he was cheating on his wife. I'm just making sure you understand the different people we're picking.
Which is fine, but he was also an 8-year police chief.
What's that?
He served as an interim
He was a
chief
police, yeah,
a few times, 3 times, and then he's been the city administrator in Georgia for the last 6 years.
Yeah.
So what you're referring to was early on into his career.
Just asking if you saw that.
Yeah.
I'm not
Oh,
asking for the rest of it.
Yeah, I
It's yes
saw
or no.
every little thing. I went through all the articles.
Yes, I saw it. No, I didn't see it.
Um,
That's kind of what I was asking.
Yeah.
So that's why I asked if you read the whole thing, because I personally didn't. My wife did, and she pointed it out to me. So I didn't have him as one of my people. That's all I'm saying. So if you want to keep him on there, we keep him on there.
If that's the case, then there's a few others that have been terminated by council. There's other people that, there's at least one other one that was, had several discrepancies, missed deadlines. The attorney general ended up essentially going in and making them put a plan together. So none of them are, I would say essentially, everyone has something. So I think the $900 20, 30 years ago, that's probably the least one. Like I said, there's been that have been terminated. Some of them have walked away through a middle of a controversy. So there's a lot of things to weigh out.
That's the way you want to think. That's okay. All righty. What do you want? Can you explain what you just stated? 28th, we're going to pick the 2
All right,
people
so
we want to interview?
Let's see if I have this whole convoluted timeline right. All right, so on August the 28th, we will have 5 virtual interviews.
Mm-hmm.
The interviews are complete, we go away, we come back on the 31st. From the 5, we come up with 3.
Mm-hmm.
Of those 3, we ask them to come to an in-person on September the 4th. Once those interviews are completed on September 4th, we come to council meeting on September the 8th with our own opinion ready to discuss or defend whoever your pick is, and we have our person by the end of the night.
Okay. Anybody want to not do that? Okay, let's do it.
Just some clarification for the September 4th, do you want to do the individual interviews, the one-on-one with council, and then also the panel interview, or do you just want to do the panel interview?
No, when we did Paul and another one that I've witnessed, we just did a panel interview.
I think panel would be the best one. We all get the same information at the same time.
agreed.
All right, so it's a panel.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll
Welcome.
relay this to the search firm, and then they can take it from there as far as scheduling. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. All right, let's keep this rolling. We're into the budget now. You want to take this, Paul?
Sure, thank you. So council, in your packet is a draft of what will hopefully become the final budget at your September budget hearings. And just remember, in addition to your hearings you have for your town manager, you also have 2 budget hearings and a regular council meeting, the September 8th, and also 2 budget hearings. We can't have our budget hearings on the same day as the regular council meetings because of conflict with other budgeting authorities. So if you recall, we spent quite a bit of time and went over our draft budget. I would say about 2 months ago or so. This is close to that draft budget. There's a few big changes in there, and I guess I want to ask the council. I can go over each category if you want me to, or I can just go over kind of the changes. I assume you've all seen that. We had a workshop on the first budget, but I just want to know how much time you want to spend on this, or just kind of get the highlights of what changed since major changes since the last budget workshop.
How you guys want to do it? You want to?
I came prepared to discuss the budget in extreme detail, so.
Well, in that case, let me ask my questions first and get them out of the way. How about that?
I didn't really hear you, Brian. What'd you say?
I came prepared to look at the budget in extreme detail.
Oh, okay. Well, let's move forward. Brian wants to do the stream detail. If you guys want to do that, go ahead. I don't need it. I've already been through this 15 times, 20 times. Go ahead, Carol. You got
Yeah,
questions?
Let me just
Okay.
run through, yeah, we'll just cut this in half then, because more than likely there's some more questions. So, basically, I'm looking at expenditures, page 26 of.
And may I suggest if we are going to go over each budget category, it sounds like maybe we can just hit those when we get to them. I think that'd be a little more efficient if that's okay, Ms. Womack. Because I think we're going to go through each budget category. So really the budget starts off with revenues on page 12. Most of the stuff obviously is expenditures. I'll just ask if any council members have any questions on the revenue section.
I did have a few questions on this page. The court fines, could you explain that? Sorry, let me give you the number. It ends
Thank you.
1100. So it's towards the bottom.
Thank you. That's always the hardest one to find anything on. Yes,
Court fines, Department of Highway Safety.
Yeah, so court fines come from traffic citations or other court costs that are issued within the municipal limits. So when the Lake County Sheriff's Department or the Highway Patrol write tickets, there's a little percentage of share that we get if it's written in the town of Montverde.
So essentially us having sheriffs and state troopers around town and pulling people over, essentially that's a profit revenue for us.
It's a small amount of revenue, but yes, that's true. Yes.
We don't make any revenue off the tickets from the troopers.
When they write it for the town of Montverde, there's like a couple dollars that goes back into the municipality for the public safety. There's like a state share finance thing on ticket revenues. And then there's also court costs for other things. That's my understanding of that one. It's pretty minor.
And the reason why I brought that up is I like to caution the town, if we're going to be selectively picking where we want them to patrol or who to pull over, like commercial vehicles, we're selective enforcement and we profit from it. So I just want to bring that out. Code of compliance fines.
And share real quick. I mean, the year-to-date budget's $6,800. So I just want to point it's, I know people get tickets for several $100s, and it's not in other states. Like when I was in Colorado, we kept 90% of the ticket costs in the municipality, and only sent 10 to the state. So it's the other way around here. Just to let you know.
Hey, real quick, election Parks won 86%. No surprise.
The next question I have is code compliance fines, 4200. The year to actual is 650, but we have 5,000 on there for 2027. I guess, are we anticipating a lot of code compliance fines?
Yeah, this year we just haven't had a special magistrate to have cases. We have a lot of pending holding up. We're trying to find a special magistrate that can serve. We're under the restraints in Florida. The legislators passed a statute that doesn't allow dual office holding for attorneys. So if they serve as a special master in one city, they can't serve as another. So it's very difficult to find someone to serve that wants to come in every other month for a few hours. But we're hoping to get somebody.
The next one is two below that, interest earnings. The interest earnings is from what exactly?
From money that's in our checking account.
I assume is that going to change, just simply because year to date is 19,000 and we're just budgeting 15,000 for 2027.
Yeah, some of that at the end of the year was our leftover ARPA money that we had in there, that transferred some fees in. It's just really hard to say where interest rates are. I don't want to overly state that. It probably will come in higher at the rate that we have our savings. But we do have some of those larger capital projects. You know, we'll have money out quite a bit, then money comes back in. So we'll always be sitting in the bank.
A little bit further down, developer contributions, 6,250 for 2027 is 1 million. So is that the 1.5 that we were supposed to get, or?
Yeah, that's correct, Mr. Rubio. We got the 500,000 in this year. And if you'll notice below that at the very bottom, you'll see the balance for developer appropriation. So I'm moving that 500,000 that we got this year into next year's budget because we haven't spent it on anything. Then we expect the $1 million in at final plat and then also at first CO for the Osgood property.
Okay, but do we expect to get the full million in 2027, or?
Oh, yeah.
Oh yes, most definitely.
I'm good for that page. Thank you, Paul.
Okay, no problem. The next couple revenue funds are our capital funds, our impact fee funds and things like that. I will skip through those unless somebody has any specific questions on those.
No questions.
No questions.
And next, let me scroll down, I think is the water fund, if I recall right. So I'm scrolling as I go down on my computer as well. Okay, yeah, sorry. Water is on. Yes, sorry. So page 2043 is our potable water department. I don't think anything largely changed there from the last workshop we had. Does anybody have any changes on that?
I did have a question on the bulk water sales.
Yes.
I guess I don't know too much about that. Who's buying water? What does that look like?
Yeah. So that one is hard to project what we do. Again, I kind of try to stay a little conservative on that. But that is when road crews, developers, the county, they come in and they need water for a construction project. We have them come check out a fire hydrant meter and pay a deposit, and they pay $10 per 1,000 gallons of water they use. So it's about 3 times what our residents pay for the bulk water. So that's literally water out of the hydrant when they fill those big trucks up.
Now, how does that impact the usage for the assigned permits that we have for the water wells?
Yeah, so we track our CUP actually daily with logs. We're far enough under our CUP, it doesn't affect it at all. It's really, it's maybe 20 tanker trucks at the end of the day. It really doesn't count for that much water when it's all said and done. It's a couple million gallons of water, but against our CUP, it's not making much of a dent.
Once the 2 developments are built out, would I guess bulk water sales affect the usage, or?
Yeah, the developers, for instance, right now, the Osgood developers, have a couple out there. Then, the Pulte developers are going to be back out there making some changes, to the punch list. They'll probably run a meter out. When Fosgate Road was done, that was a county project. Their contractors came and got a water meter from us. The guys doing the Porter project and Lakeside project, we made them buy the water from us. That wasn't, you wouldn't give them free water, so we charged them for water. So those are examples of when we would sell those. Unless it's a project the town is obviously, using subcontractors themselves. It's a little extra money that gives the water fund some extra cushion. It's helped the town out over the last few years.
for the meters, it's like the third one down from the bulk water sales. Year to date, we're at 300,000. For the current year budget is 180, and then we have 250 for 2027. So I guess the more houses are built, does that go up? Does that make that line item go up?
Yeah, that is correct, Mr. Rubio. So as you probably looked at last finance report, our revenues are at 100% and all of our funds and most of our expenditures are in the 70% range. So always try to budget conservatively with revenues. So we hopefully always get more, and that way we don't have a problem at the end of the year with not having a balanced budget. But yes, that's all development.
Okay. A little bit further down, the surcharge line, I guess what is that exactly?
That's the surcharge for people who are not residents that get water from us. So that'd be the Montverde Estates and Apapa Sound. And there's a couple county residents that are on our water that are around town.
That's it for me on this page.
Yeah,
Great.
Can you
Thank you.
explain the irrigation water service charge? Who are we selling irrigation water to?
Yeah, so in all of our new developments, they each house has 2 meters in it, and they have a potable water meter that's coming off our system. Then they have an irrigation meter, and so the irrigation water is actually a little bit of cheaper rate because we don't have to treat it and monitor it, so it's a little bit cheaper for them to water with. So Apopka Sound has that, Willow Ridge has that. Both of the new developments both have separate meters. And we're doing that. That's actually kind of one of the things that was in our CUP from 20 years ago. You want to have those separate meters because eventually the state expects us to hook up to some lake water or something else, and you want to have that system separated. So instead of the town having to pay to do all those lines, we're forcing the developers to do it now. So when that day comes when we're forced to do it, all the infrastructure is in place, which will save the town millions. And that mandate is coming.
Will those be put in as like the same color as reclaim lines at the purple? Just so it's already.
And I'm so
included in
sorry,
the
Jamie. I'm
infrastructure?
still having a mic problem with you. Could you pull that just a
Will
little
it be
closer?
brought in as purple pipe? Will it be brought in just like the reclaim lines are on most communities? So that way.
That's correct. Yeah, it's usually purple pipe in the ground and a purple meter that's in there. Correct. Any other questions on water, council? Okay, then water impact fees. Then the next one is our sewer enterprise, and that's on page 23. Any questions on those revenue sources?
Yes, the second line item, sewer service charges. I assume that's what, part of Willow Ridge, or I guess what makes sewer service charges?
Yeah, so we charge basically a hookup fee when they connect. I'm sorry, I apologize. That's the connection fees. The sewer service charge is their charge for using the system. So I believe they pay a $24 base rate, then whatever Claremont's per gallon charge is, which is like $6.35 or $6.50 per thousand, somewhere in that ballpark.
Oh, so just theoretically, like if the town was to change from septic to sewer, essentially that line item will like grow exponentially.
Correct. Yeah. So that's the equivalent of basically each home paying $40-$50 per house for sewer. The sewer for Hills of Montverde is in the $150-$160 range when they hook up because they're on their own little small mini sewer plant. So their charges are going to be much more, and they're out of the city limits, of course.
I'm good for that page. Thank you.
Any other questions on sewer, council? Okay. I'll go ahead and we'll jump over to the expenditures. So you'll find that, council, on page 26 of your packet. So our first fund is the town council fund, and so that is mainly expenses related to the town council in one form or another. This year's budget's $127,315, and the proposed budget for next year is a little less at $122,088. Any specific questions about those line items?
Yes, on the professional service legal, what is exactly that? Like, what falls into that category?
That one was added this year, and is mine floating around in there?
Yes.
She is.
Okay, Mike, could you pull that up? I don't recall off the, I know it's for something litigation wise or something that happened, but
17.
was that the,
the payout. To
Oh, that was,
something.
okay. Yeah, so there was a ethics complaint filed, and that ethics complaint was found not valid, and the town insurance company reimbursed the town the cost for that council member's attorney. And that amount was 18,100. Then we have to turn around and write a check back to the council member's attorney for 18,100. So it actually, if that budget, if category goes over budget, we can do a budget amendment because it is in and out. We did receive a payment for that 18,000 from the insurance company, and then, but we have to write a check out. And so that's why you see that there. And that's why there was nothing budgeted in that section. So we actually will have to do a budget amendment because it was not originally budgeted for anyway as a line item.
Paul, let's backtrack a little bit. I was under the impression that if there's an ethics complaint filed, the insurance company gives you essentially the option for you to retain your own attorney, pay out of pocket. They reimburse you if you're found not guilty, I guess. So why are we hiring an attorney? Why are
We did
getting
not.
reimbursed?
That's the reimbursement to the council member's attorney. So we're the insurer. So the insurer writes the check to the city, then the city writes the check to the attorney that represented the council member.
For the reimbursement, so.
For the reimbursement, yes.
Okay, now I understand. Okay.
So literally it's insurance reimbursement, nothing else, what that is.
Okay.
Thank you, Mike.
Further down, repairs and maintenance. I know you mentioned at one point that I guess is things having to do with the chamber, I guess, or is that still the case for that one?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, just for stuff that you need kind of in general, the sound system hits by electricity or a lightning strike or new tables that are needed in there.
A little bit further down, the council workshop and community meals. Out of that 11,000 year to date, what's what? How much of that is the community meals and how much of that is council workshops?
It's all community meals. I don't think we've done any. We might have done one workshop where we had a meal.
Can we change that line item then and just label it community meals?
Yeah, we can.
Okay, perfect, thank you. I guess I'll keep going down. Next section, the finance and administrative. For this section, I see that the year-to-date actual went over on both the overtime and retirement plan. So I guess what threw that off?
Yeah, a lot of that time was probably the overtime was related to the double audit and all the additional records requests that we've been having. So staff has been coming in on Fridays quite a bit.
The health insurance dependent 50%, what is that about?
That's what we talked about at the workshop of providing health insurance for the employees at a 50% coverage. So that's something we haven't done in the past, but we would add under this scenario.
How about the retirement plan? 28,000 is year to date. Budget was for 21, and next year's 22. I guess what made that go up?
I will need to look into that. I'll have to get back with you on that one. And Maya, if you're there, you could do a quick little look, and if you have an easy answer, you could share that.
The percentage for FRS went down for employer contribution also.
Thank you.
But our budget was 20, just under 22, and we're at 28,000 right now. So I just wonder if we had that spread out correctly.
I will double
Let us look at that one. We'll double check and make an
that's fine.
adjustment if necessary.
The next line, professional items, a bit further down. What does that entail? What is professional services?
Anytime we have to hire consultants, and if you could check on that, also let me know who all we have in there under that particular one. For instance, we had a CPA come in and assist for a little bit with trying to get some of the books caught up on for this year's audit with all the grants we had. So that CPA went under there, so that was a part of that service. So basically, those additional services, sometimes we have to hire in. basically the backup staff for something.
Aside from CPA, like what else, I guess, would fall into that?
The system's
Yeah,
too
my-
slow, so I couldn't connect to the software, so I
Okay,
wanted to get.
that's fine, I'll go to the next
Yeah,
line.
sorry.
No, you're fine. Repair maintenance, our budget was 10,000, we're over, your actual is 25K. And for 2027, it's 4,500, so.
Yeah,
460.
some of that I know was from our lightning strike that we had. And so there were some insurance reimbursements on that. So some of that went under that project. I believe we had an air conditioner go down this year. So I believe that's under there as well.
But there's no deferred maintenance that we know of that could potentially impact the 4,500 budget for 2027.
It is really hard. We've had some years where we haven't had much. This building's so old, it's hard to really know what's going to happen to it. I hate saying that. And it's some of the buildings not even grounded. So every time we have a heavy lightning strike, we have some damages to something going on. The computer got hit this last lightning round from a month and a half ago. We have a brand new computer, have to replace that. Some sound stuff got hit. All the little switches got hit in town. Some server stuff got hit.
Thank you, Paul. I'm good for this page.
Okay. And Maya, were you able to open any of that yet?
No, because the system's too slow for me to connect to.
We'll keep moving, that's fine.
I can
Okay.
research it and then.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, we can. If anything, too, we can always email it back if they have any. We can get with you guys on. Okay, next section is legal counsel. This current budget year is 65.5, and we're recommending 126.5 for next year. Any questions on that?
Yes, I have a question. So for that one, obviously, we're over. Your actual is over. For 2027, it's going up to 125. Obviously, we did the amendment for the hourly rate, but that's like a 92% increase. I can't imagine that an hourly rate would make it jump that high. So is there anything that the town is expecting, or what else could make that go up?
Yeah, I just kind of built this in because I believe with elections coming up and a new town manager coming in, Anita's going to be spending a lot more time with the new town manager and what their needs are to get them up to speed on stuff. We've had a lot of litigation stuff come back and forth that Anita had to be involved in that we haven't had in years past. And so that's kind of why we're up this year. And, records requests, Anita's having to go through a lot of the amount of records requests we have coming in as well. So I think there's quite a few things that are contribute to that. Just with the new manager coming on, I think just having that, because I assume they're going to need a lot of additional help from Anita to get up to par on everything from ordinances to resolutions to agreements.
You mentioned that our town attorney has to go through a records request. Can you clarify that? Because I was under the assumption that the clerk is the one that handles the records requests, does the redactions. So I guess does our town attorney have to see every single records request? And
No, she doesn't, but a lot of them been involved about stuff that they're requesting from her directly. Correspondence that town attorney made to any council member. We've been getting a lot of that kind of stuff. And there are some redaction where we need her legal advice because, some of it we need some clarification where we're getting some stuff that we haven't had requests on before. When it comes to personnel stuff being requested, things along that line, or anything involved with ethics or legal, that we always make her look at that to make sure the town doesn't create more liability by releasing something it shouldn't.
if someone submits a records request and wants the invoices that the town currently has in their system, does that require for the town attorney to go through that before the records request is fulfilled?
Generally not, unless some of the invoices had information about pending litigation or stuff like that. Well, sometimes we'll ask her to go, but yeah, if we have it, then our accounting person does it. But some of the stuff is, text from the town attorney, things along that line.
So under that line,
And also recall, if the town attorney hasn't billed for the invoice yet and they request it, it's still a public record. She has it in her system.
typically, how long is the town attorney required to, I guess, invoice us?
Well, I don't understand the question.
So how long would it take, I guess, for town attorney to send us the bill? Like, is there a time frame? Like, she has to do it within 2 days, or not 2 days, 2 weeks, or a month, 30 days, 60 days?
Yeah, usually we get her invoice, I believe, once a month, and it's, probably a week the following month or something, 10 days after the month changes. Yeah.
How many subcategories are in that line item? The professional services for legal counsel. So what makes up that 78? Obviously, one could be litigation, which we're not in, I guess, but one is records requests, I assume. Like, what's the different buckets under that one?
Sure. So it's anything she does for the town staff or the town council on behalf of the town for any matters. So that's writing ordinances, writing resolutions. She's helping you with your town manager search. Every time you say, town attorney, would you look into this and get back with us? All of that would fall in there. What doesn't fall in there is her legal services that she does for developers, because we take a deposit from them when it's related to where they have to pay a deposit, such as a variance or an impact. So the developers actually pay for her salary on that. And that also includes, our weekly staff meetings where she comes in and we go over any town business we need to cover, any development stuff that's coming up, any issues with the town. So we do a weekly meeting with the staff, all the senior staff members and the town attorney, and make sure everybody's on the same page on everything that's coming up, agenda reviews, things along that line.
Is it possible to get a quarterly report as to, I guess, what's being billed, like how many hours for this, how many hours for that, and break it down into sections, kind of like how we have it for you, where it's like itemized in different accounts. And I think we also, I guess at some point might have spoken about requesting that from you.
I can also just send you her last 3 months of invoice if you want to see what's going on in her last 4 months, because she breaks it down very detailed.
Okay. I mean, yeah, that's fine. I'm good for that.
Yeah, so
section.
we'll have staff send out maybe the last 3 months invoices so you can kind of see what's going on there.
Okay. Next section. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I was going to ask, was there any other incremental members to just real quick? If you were done on that section.
Yeah, I'm done with that section. I don't have anybody else.
Okay. All right. So council next is permitting. This year's budget's 553. Next year's budget is budgeted at 545. And I don't know if you got any specific line items on those.
For me, the retirement is, again, over on this one. Your actual is over, not by a whole lot, but I guess like what keeps making these retirement line items, I guess, more than what we're budgeting for.
Yeah, I need to look. We were just obviously soft on the budget last year. We didn't have enough in that budget category. But it seems like if that's a thing, we need to look and see why we didn't have enough budgeted in there.
Contractual services is essentially doubled from our current budget. And then for 2027, it's down to 18,000. Your actual.
Yeah, again. That one's a hard one. It's another in and out. That's generally parks consulting and half engineers. So that is the money is almost everything where the revenue comes in permitting. It kind of matches the expenditures that go out. So it just depends on how much building permits we have. That's the same thing with the building official fees. We're already over on that one. It's all dependent on how many people submit a permit fee or a building permit. So we will have to do a budget amendment, obviously, on permit, and we do every single year. I always try to budget less than what I think it's going to be and just come back and do a budget amendment versus put a lot of money in there and we don't get the revenue to match it.
A little bit further down.
So,
okay, sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to say, so, again, just want to reiterate, that's really tied to building permits. Both the building official fees and the contractual services are kind of tied to how many building permits we get in. It's you just estimate the best you can off of what you think is coming in for the year.
490, other current charges. I mean, it's only $1,200. Your actual, but I guess like what is that?
It's kind of the miscellaneous thing that all the little catch-all things that really don't have a spot to go into. You'll see that in a lot of the categories. I can have Maya look specifically what was in that one this year.
Yeah,
So,
sure.
you know,
I guess we could just add it to the
sometimes,
list and then, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it could be an example if there's we have to pay a bad check fee, we charge the person for the fee, but we still got to pay the bad check fee. That would probably end up getting thrown in there, little things like that.
I'm good for permanent.
And Maya might know off the top of her head possibly, so she can maybe throw that out if she has it. So.
We're good on that. Keep going.
Okay, everybody good on permitting?
Yes.
All right, public safety, we budgeted 187 last year. We're budgeting 183 this year. Any questions on the specific line items for public safety?
For highway patrol, I remember, I think it was before me, council approved to increase that line item, or it might have been, I can't remember. But we're sitting at 85. I guess, is it realistic to keep the 140 in there, or?
Yeah, this summer's been a little bit of soft on highway patrol just because of how their scheduling works from what we normally see scheduled. Then right now, as school starts, and you've probably seen some sheriff out there. You should be seeing some more highway patrol and sheriff's department doing some saturations patrols. And you got to remember too, when you look at it, I know we're kind of down to the last months of the budget year, but on some of these billings, we do an accrual method of accounting, and so we'll be getting the bills in next budget year that will still accrue back to this budget year. So we really got 3 months left of payments coming back in from them. So, but yeah, we'll be under. I'll be probably in the 120 range, 115 range when the budget year ends.
For the next line item, the Lake County Sheriff's, it says Lake County Sheriff or Highway Patrol, I assume, the HP.
Yeah, correct.
Should we cancel that out and just leave it in the one right before it?
Yeah, I try to just see how much I spend on Lake County Sheriff if they're available, but I kind of just stick it in there in case the sheriffs aren't available and I run the highway patrol budget over. But we can remove the HP just so you guys could kind of truly see what's going in it, because at the end of the day, it's just the bottom number of the total that matters, that we don't go over. So yeah, if you can make a note to maybe just keep that as Lake County Sheriff's Office.
Next page, still under the same section, operating supplies. Your actual is 12,000. We budgeted 550. I guess what is it that is it traffic signs? I don't know.
I need to look.
Cameras.
What's that?
Cameras.
Cameras?
Yeah, well, we had.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah, so those were our, we've been putting our camera system under public safety, and we have the lightning strike this year, so we're going to get insurance reimbursement for most of that, not all of it, probably 10-ish of it, but those were the camera repairs and server repairs.
Those are exterior cameras, correct? Is that? Okay.
Correct. Yes.
I'm good for that section.
Next, council, is the fire control post office, 18.5 last year, 19.2 this year. Any questions on that?
Nope.
Code compliance, 28 this year, and 50,981 for code compliance.
Just one quick
Yeah.
question from me. And I think you probably addressed it at the top of the meeting. Professional services, it's up 20,000. That would be for our code enforcement officer, I'm thinking?
Yeah, correct. So we're working, Will Dan, who does our building inspections, actually has a certified code enforcement officer, and we're working through a contract to bring for council to hopefully bring a code enforcement officer for you. Then I'll also be for the special magistrate as well. That's involved in that. And we got an RFP currently out for the special magistrate, so we're hoping to find somebody to fill that position.
And that was professional services under the code of compliance, correct?
Correct.
That was my questions too, so I'm good on that section.
Okay. Garbage and waste, 305 this year, 350 next year. Any questions on that?
No.
Public Works was 389 last year and 138 this year for the budget.
One quick question is why we have nothing for hurricane repairs?
So I moved the hurricane repairs this year. We are moving that money in the revenues. You'll see it as an appropriation or as another revenue. And we're in stage 7, I think is what Sandy told me. So it's in finance for the check to be written. It's been in finance for 12 weeks, but it's in finance. So that section has now moved over to the parks because I assume the council, from conversations, we want to get Truscott Park repaired with that money from the hurricane damage. So that's why you see the big change. So you'll see that in the parks department, the money for that. Any other questions of Public Works?
For equipment lease vehicles, it's zeroed out your actual for this year's budget and 0 for next year. So are we just, I guess, using it as a placeholder?
What number is that?
Equipment
Oh, here.
leases, 442, like right above the hurricane repairs.
Yeah, so the system automatically keeps a line item for 3 years until it's zeroed out, I think for 3 years or something like that. And yeah, originally I would say 4 years ago, we leased equipment because we got like a 0.9%. So we spread it out over 3 budget years when we bought our first track loader.
Four lines up, contractual services. We're at 7,400 and budget is 3,500.
Yeah, I'll look in that. That's more than likely is probably some tree cutting and repairs and some road stuff that Chuck had to have done. I'll have to do a little dig into that, so I'll put that on my list to get a breakdown for you.
Okay. I'm good on that page. On the following page.
Anybody else in Public Works?
It's still Public Works on the next page.
Okay, sorry.
Machinery and equipment, that's the last line item for that section. It's your actual is 0, but we're budgeting for next year 10, and this year's 20,000.
Yeah, so you'll actually see, I think a Road and Streets has a vehicle equipment that's a 02 and water has a 0. So we have a Public Works truck that's on order, and we actually ordered it at the beginning of the budget year, and it's supposed to be in 2 weeks, and so that'll be spread out between those 3 departments, and so that'll actually have something in it. Then we're not planning on any large equipment purchases this year, but we will have, the normal, chainsaw stuff that go through or, small equipment that we have to buy.
For the next section, professional services again. It's for road, streets, facilities.
Yeah, so under that one, yeah, we haven't used anything in this budget, so I put that as a placeholder in there, which you guys could move in roads and streets, and also I put some additional money in the water system. If you end up working out an agreement with me to handle the capital projects that you have, it'll mainly be water system and road and streets. So that's kind of just a budget placeholder for those funds to come out of, so you can track that. So if you end up not working that out, that's, you could leave it in there and just leave it extra or move it around to something else later.
At the bottom of the page, developer-funded streets sides, that's the payouts for Osgood.
Yeah, so that would be 8th and 9th Street for sure. Then if we went with kind of the local contractors, we can do Broad, Temple, 8th, 9th, like we talked about the last one in Kirk Street. So that would be all those.
And can you just refresh me, where are we on the payment schedule? They've made one payment?
Yeah, so they made one payment of $500,000. They have currently been working with our planning staff and town attorney, myself, on the final plat. So Anita's been working back and forth with them on the language because it's mainly a legal document. I would say the final plat probably will be ready from what they're saying in about 8 weeks. Then once that's signed, they'll get the second $500,000 payment. Then the last payment is at the time of CO, their first CO, and that'd be 500,000.
So more or less, we can kind of sort of expect the second payment roughly in 8 weeks or so? Something close to that?
Yeah, before the end of the year, I would expect
Yeah.
it, definitely. That'd be a safe way to say it. Thank you. Council, anything else?
Not on that page for me.
Cemetery, 72 last year and 73,500 this year. Any questions on that?
No.
The library, 177 last year and 198 this year. Any questions on that?
Yes, on page 30 out of 43, again, contractual services, it's at 98. Our budget is 7,500, and next year is 9,500.
Hang on 1 second. What was the line number on that?
It's fourth from the top, 340.
Okay, there it is. Double check. I'm thinking I believe in that's the internet, correct? Or do we have that in another spot?
No, that's not the internet. That does
Who's it
include
with?
like cleaning for the library.
Oh,
and
that's
stuff,
right. The library cleaning, correct, yes.
But I will also double check that for you.
Okay, thank you.
That's right, yeah, I'm sorry, that is library cleaning. So that one probably does need a little bit of a bump.
Was that the $2,000? Is that what you're saying? We're looking at the $2,000 account? The difference?
This is, yeah, the budget year 7,500, it's at 9,800,
So we looked at a
contract.
$2,000 difference in that account?
correct.
Next line item is the internet. We're over by a little bit, but guess what? Is it just the cost of internet?
Yeah, it's a little weird with the internet for the library because it actually has to be a complete separate system from that of town hall, but we get a large percentage of that reimbursed by the federal government through Lake County through an agreement we have with them. So why it's 20,000, they reimburse us, I want to say in the 80% range, something like that for the cost.
How often is that reimbursement?
Ryan, do you know when you see that? Is that quarterly or monthly?
They're still working on that, but it is a monthly.
Yeah, they had a big changeover this year where they got rid of Summit and went over to Comcast, and we got the bill all at once. And so they back billed us for almost a year's worth of service, and so they're getting us the reimbursement for that year's worth of service right now.
So our library year-to-date is at 138? No, I'm sorry, last
Correct.
year was 138 last year. This year, no, current is 138, 177 for budget. So what's that, 65%? So we're $40,000 down with 2 months left.
Yeah, I didn't hire off the second person. We had a part-time person, so that's some of that, and I didn't get all the books in because we still are waiting on a couple of the shelves to be built that are still due that he's working on.
Well, I'm
So
not, I'm not,
I
I'm
just
not
gotta-
accusing you, none. I just wondered, that doesn't seem, the total in the department is in very good shape.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, there's just a few things I held off on doing in the library just because we were getting new and everybody was getting situated to new positions.
But I'm
So
not
we're still
sure,
waiting for some
I'm
children.
not sure if people like, you're not been here a long time, you don't maybe understand. The money inside the department can move around. The department totals have to be within the budget. So let's say you needed money from, in one account in that department, you could actually move that money to the other account and be within the budget rules, and our auditors wouldn't have a problem with it. So just so you know, that's why you might see some accounts, there's 30 accounts in there, and one account might be $2,000 higher than it's supposed to be, but the budget for the year-to-date for the department is at 65%, we should be at, what, 80% now? If I remember right, year-to-date, 80,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Right, so we're 10% under budget year-to-date, so there's no problem with that account, with that department.
Yeah, the line items are just more of a tracking, and it's a total budget. As a council, that's really, it kind of helps you keep track of where we need to move money at. But as far as the audit's concerned and state statute,
Right.
all
What
the
you might
purpose
want to
of
look at
management
is
is to
on these
comply with.
monthly reports that you see, there's a percentage line at the very end. So if you're in your first month of the year, you're going to be, what, 90%? I mean, 10% year-to-date, or 8%, I think it is. But if you're at the last month of the year, you're going to be at 100%, and, you know, if the department is under budget, there's no problem. Just so you know, this P&L went over and over and over with different ways of doing it, and we installed that percentage line so it could be easier for folks to manage the budget.
Promotional activities, what is that for the library?
So those were for events and programs that we were holding. So like we do the summer reading programs. We tried to do a few adult programs this year, and we just didn't get much interest on those. We're going to try a few different things next year. So basically any of the program activities that they run in the library as a library program themselves.
I'm good with that section, thank you.
Sales and library. Okay. Parks and Rec. This one you'll see a change, and there's an error in here. We're going to fix that too. I'll point that out. But 385 is this year's budget, and next year's budget is 755. And if you'll look down at 607, the computer popped that in there. But yeah, it's not a dog park where you have for 250. So that's the Truscott Park 250 that we talked about. So that was just a computer insert. I put in some money to start thinking about maybe doing some improvements for the community building that's there, because you guys have shown interest. You want to do something. It may or may not be enough. It just depends on what you want to do. But I figure we need to put something in there to start with, if that's where you guys want to move with that. I moved over. We haven't spent any of the playground equipment, so that's the last one there, number 641. Playground equipment, that's at 150,000. And that is again from Code Find. So we've been rolling, this is the third time we're rolling it over in the budget, just rolling over till we use it. Now we have that $250,000 grant and some impact fee funds we can use. So that's why you see some of those huge increases in Parks and Rec, but I'll be glad to answer any other questions on that.
I'm good on that section.
I was just kind of curious what a $250,000 dog park might look like.
Gold.
I thought about putting a water slide and a pool in for the dogs, you know, because it is the busiest park in town sometimes, you know.
I have one, and this is educational because I'm not sure what this means or it refers to. The next page, 31, there I see transfer out, right? But
Sure, yeah. Let me get special events first, and then I'll jump down to that one and explain that.
Transfer in further up. I think it was in revenues to the two. Yeah, explain it. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, and I'll jump on that real quick. So the transfer, this was a journal entry that we did this year. I got with the auditors for how to do that. But when we did the sports courts, we took the money, and again, this was just all on paper, but the paper money on the journal came from the impact fee fund, but that was actually the money that we had from the sale of the land for the fire station. So we did a journal entry that took it out of the impact fee fund and put it into the general fund money on the general ledger, and so that's why that's popping up there. So we corrected where it needed to go. Does that make sense?
Actually, in an odd way, it kind of sort of does. Yeah.
So it's a journal entry on paper to move it from the impact fee fund account to the general fund where the council approved those funds to be spent from. So it got pulled out of the wrong fund. And so we corrected it. I mean, it was last year, but we wanted to correct it because it showed the park impact fee fund in the negative, and that corrected it to get it back where it was supposed to be. And again, those funds came from the fire station.
From the sale of the land, yep.
Correct.
That makes more sense. Thank you.
No problem. Then last is special events on page 30. Any questions on that? Perfect. Okay. Two things. I'll kind of skip those. Just let you know, I'm getting within the budget too. You'll see that. I'm getting proposals from our architect, who we have our RFP from, which is Gator Sketch. He's getting proposal to put the playground spec and kind of a plan together for the playground, so we can actually have a bid document, because we'll have to have some designs for that now that we have the grant, because they'll make that, we're over the limit where it has to go out to a bid by state statute. So I'll have he's putting a proposal for that. And I'm also having him put a proposal together to do the fire station rehab and to work with council next year, whoever, how you guys want to do with that building. I gave him some general direction of what the council's been talking about, but obviously there's been no formal decision by council, but we'll get a price to see what that looks like for full design plans for that. And that's coming out of the impact fee funds for that fire station. And that's something else. We also will put another appropriation request in. We put a appropriation request in this year for it. The only one made out the playground, but it did make it through some of the committees, so it had a little bit of traction when it went. Does anybody have any questions on the impact fee funds? Those are just pretty well, they are pretty well what's left over grant money. So they are kind of what they are.
I don't.
The capitals. Okay. So if you want to move down to the water section, which is page 38 of 43. Last year's budget was $1,207,755. This year's budget is $1,324,000. Glad to answer any questions on that. And yes, I see retirement plans over a little bit on that one too. And health insurance.
Health insurance is up across the board on everything.
Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah, we might. Health insurance is hard. We don't get our final numbers until I want to say November, January. So after the budget's passed, so we always ask them for a feel. I think this year they said we're going to you'll see work comp. We put up a little bit more than normal, because they said all the work comp's going to go up pretty strong this year. I think some liability insurance will go up as well.
For professional services, we're at 64,000. Current budget is 139, but we're raising it for 2027 at 177,000. So we're not even.
Yeah. So, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh no, I'm sorry. Finish, please. I'm sorry.
Oh no, I was just going to say that we're a little bit under half year actual. So I didn't know if we had a reason to increase it for 2027.
Sure. Yeah, that one's a little bit tricky. So that's kind of like this year, the CUP's been coming out of that, and we're assuming we're going to be done with the CUP. I also, again, put funds in there if you wanted me to work on the capital projects. That would be the other category. I would have some funds come out of to assist with the capital projects. But anything related to engineering or special things that we need for the water system. And, if we have a major component issue or major breakdown, that's kind of would fall in there. So it acts a little bit like a reserve when we don't use it all. There's a couple of those categories that do that. So we try not to spend the money if we don't have to. It's just everything catches in there if we have to.
Thank you. I'm good for this section.
And the last is the sewer impact, or excuse me, the sewer enterprise on page 41.
Same one.
Last year's,
Oh, sorry, go
yeah,
ahead.
sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to.
I was just saying, last year's budget's 202, then we're at the 354.
And that's for the tower on Stetcher?
This is the sewer. So we're
Page
on
41 out of 43.
yeah, 41.
Sorry. One page.
Yeah, 41. And I'm sorry, Mr. Rivo, did you have a question on that?
Oh, yeah, it was just the contractual services. Is it the same scenario as the other ones? Because we're at 6,700 year to date, and 27 budget is 40,000.
Yeah, I think Chuck had to have a pump out and a couple of things done at one of the lift stations. And then next, you see the big increase for next year. So that's the contractual services for the group that's going to take, and that's plant technicians that's going to run the sewer plant at the Hills of Montverde. That's why you see the big increase over there. Same with utilities and insurance and everything else.
So, yeah, that's it. It's basic operating expenses increase through repair and replace, because all of those are up. So that's
Correct.
right? Yep.
And the sewer plant
Yep.
maintenance on the hills.
Correct. And the repair and maintenance reserves, you notice we only spent $200, there's 24,000 on budget, 31,000. That's basically a cash balance reserve account. So the extra money we're building that up, a cash balance, a cash fund in there. So if there is a repair, the town has that, it doesn't have to come out of general funds. Okay, that's the budget. Sounds like we just have a few little minor things we need to get some clarifications on, and your first budget hearing is mid-September sometime. Any other questions on budget?
I assume you don't anticipate anything changing between now and September, right? Mid-September? Like any?
No, we should have all of our final numbers come in unless we get a grant. That comes in that will add into that. It'll end up in the capital projects. We may do one last quick pass through the capital projects if, we're going to have a big bill paying out to close construction, and I would remove some revenue out of what's left over because it's whatever's left over. That would be the only change, and I'll make a note of that for you guys. So if anything changes, that we don't have to go through every line item. But we kind of put it together as this is the final budget. We kind of wanted to get final comments from you so we not have to, it's hard to do it at the end of September when you have such a short time frame to do it in. So this should be what you're approving.
I guess I just want to just make sure that I'm looking at it correctly. The general budget for 2027 is going to be 5 million, so 5.1 million. But technically, it should be 3.3 because of the 1.5 million that we're getting from the developer. That's where that change is coming from, the developer?
That is correct.
Okay.
You have that correct. Yes, sir.
I think I'm good on that end.
Alrighty. Let's go ahead and move on to discussion regarding a code change for maximum slopes at Magnolia Terrace. If you want to explain that, Paul.
Sure, and I'm going to kind of bring both discussions in together because they're going to kind of fall in together. Anita's going to chime in a little bit too as we go through the process here. I know you guys have all received a letter from Ms. Tarver at some point about the problems she's had with the slopes on the back of her house that she built at Mag Terrace. That kind of started us looking at all of Mag Terrace, and actually I'm going to throw Lowry Road in this too. When those developments were approved, and those were in the day when no one on this council or no one sitting around the table was a part of this. Mag Terrace is an example, Lowry is an example. We have a maximum slope of 20%. There's good portions of subdivisions in town, pointing out to Lowry, Mag Terrace, where the slopes are in some places exceeding up to about 45%. And we're trying to figure out, we kind of sat around as staff and tried to how do we handle these things? Because when people go to build something, they're building the next structure and they're not meeting the town code. And we're like, well, you have to meet the town code now because you're building it. And the more we started digging into this, then you look at the non-conforming structures under our current code, and Nita, correct me when I'm saying this wrong, under non-conforming structures, they have to bring everything into compliance before they can get a final permit, I guess, or a final CO on their property, and they're not even have the ability to have a variance until they bring it into structure, signing something that's able to come for a variance. So we were just trying to think, well, think of all the things we approved in the subdivisions, and technically they're not meeting the code. And so I brought something to planning and zoning, and I was like, I just need to bring council and get a little better direction and probably clean it up how it's for then. I wasn't at that meeting. But long story short, I think we need a resolution that addresses existing slopes where people have existing houses, and when they want to go put a shed in their backyard or a new driveway, they don't have to put up 10 retaining walls on their property because they already have those slopes. So this isn't necessarily for anything new. This will be for kind of these existing subdivisions. Does that make any sense? Anita, maybe you can maybe help explain that a little better if I'm not explaining that well. Is that
Paul,
making
do
sense
have
to
a
you guys? Or
diagram that you could show us an example of what you're talking about exactly? That may help.
yeah, let me see if I could.
Because, I
pull
mean,
up a map
really, it kind
here.
of depends on where your lot line is, how much slope you have compared to where your residence is at. I mean, and drainage. I mean, there's a lot that kind of comes into play to that.
It is. If you take, a drive down Lowry Road or anywhere down Florence or Mag Bluff, the slopes are literally some places from people's front yards through the backyards, and I'll take a picture of my house as one of them, and every one of my neighbors on 8 houses each direction of me is the same thing. We have a backyard that, it's almost a 45-degree slope in a front yard that's the same. It's flat where the house is and it goes up around there. So those slopes just aren't allowed under the code on any of the lots. Then when you go to put something on there, you're supposed to bring that whole lot into conformity with the code. And I'll pull up I should be able to pull up a map so I kind of show you what's going on here.
So you're talking about just the affected area for the structure would be the only place you'd have to change the slope is what you're asking.
I think as we read the code, and is it correct? It says you have to bring the property into compliance. That's how the current code reads.
So the non-conforming use or structure section says if anybody applies for any type of building permit or development application to do any improvement on their property, they have to bring all non-conformities into compliance before they can get approval. So if somebody comes in and they want to put a new driveway in and they have to get a permit, or they ask for a fence and they need to get a permit, if they don't meet these slope requirements of your code, which Mag Terrace doesn't, then they shouldn't be getting permits for fencing, for driveways, unless they bring it into compliance. Well, realistically, there's no way to do that when there's a structure already there. So we're trying to figure out
we have
how
been
best to
issuing
address
permits
this,
too.
and what council's comfortable with.
You want to speak, Mike?
Can I speak to that?
Yeah.
My name's Mike Whitten, 17635 Broad Street. I sit on the P&Z board. I know Aaron's here too, was on it. We tabled this at the last meeting we had because we didn't have any information. Sean wasn't here, Paul wasn't here. So are we going to bypass the P&Z? I realize we only make recommendations for y'all to act on, but it seems like we've got to me, we're just kind of jumping the gun. I think it should have been go before the P&Z board again. We just didn't have any information to make the correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I would agree with that. And so we're not bypassing P&Z. What we're doing is this is a discussion item, no action. We just want to get some general direction from council on how and where to handle this. And I was going to see. And Iman, if you're there, can you get where I can share my screen? You've got to go under the tab and hit share. I'm sorry, it's just going to show up on the little TV, but I can give you examples of what we're seeing here. Can you guys see the map there?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. So this is Mag Terrace as an example. So these are the contour lines. So as you go down, all of these things all around exceed the slope. You could kind of see what's going on there, everything along the lake there. I'll scroll out a little bit, but basically all these are somewhere running in between probably a 30 to 40+% slope along here. Same thing down here. Miss Tarver's house, I know you guys talked to, she's, oops, make sure I get, I'm sorry, she's back here. on this backside, and same thing, everything kind of sloping. You can see how aggressive the slopes are in town, much more than a 20% slope that we're allowed. So it's pretty systematic there. There's a couple places on Hillside Circle, and of course Lowry Road's another example of that. Again, we've been issuing permits, but now we're getting a thing when people are starting to get into the point of building second residence or mother-in-law suites onto their house, and then we're getting some major structures that are on some pretty steep slopes. Then we're like, well, we need to figure out, does the council just want to allow this, or do we want them to follow the code and put retaining walls in when they do X, Y, and Z? And that's my thought, is that we need to just basically grandfather everything that's existing and let them build normal, as long as it doesn't cause, some obviously issue or runoff issue or something along that line. But I just want to see if council's in agreement with that, because we need to kind of draft the ordinance to address pretty well some big parts of town.
So Anita, if we did this, would that expose us in any way to any problems?
No, I mean, I think you have to have guidelines. So if, the engineer believes that if the slope is a certain depth, or the steepness is such that they need retaining walls, then we need to make sure we put in our code, you can keep it this way, we'll grandfather you in, but if you want to do other improvements, then you may have to put retaining walls in. I think that's the key, is to make sure that we put safeguards in if you allow it, so that if they make further improvements, we do have something to protect the properties in that area.
So if our engineer needed a 6-foot footer with a 4-foot wall, he could tell them that.
Right. We would include things like that in the code.
Okay.
And we don't want to have every one of these people to come forward and ask for a variance. And I mean, technically, the way the code's written right now, if you put a fence up, you should bring your whole property into conformance. And that's not right. Just, I mean, how do we do that?
Question, Paul. So this affects Mag Terrace only, or other parts
No.
of the town?
No, I would also say, as we're looking at this, Lowry Road would be another example. This heavy section has some slope drop-offs, and the front side of Lowry as well. It's more hilly, obviously, on the Mag side. There's probably some things around Long Ridge on a couple of the lots in the back. I think we would just write it in a general way. If you have an existing house or structure and you want to put not a habitable structure on, you're allowed to do that, basically, with existing slopes. If you want to put, say, a mother-in-law suite or something in the future, then you need probably have an engineer sign off on the slope plans or something like that on your plans. I mean, something, as Anita said, with some safeguards. I just think Mag Terrace, it's the most prominent because it's a hilly subdivision. That's out there, but we need to write it for other areas. It's just not Mag Terrace.
Okay.
It's just there's the most in a big group at Mag Terrace that you can see when you look at maps.
Yeah. Full disclosure, just to put on record, I live in Mag Terrace. I have nothing to gain from this. I'm looking at the policy level only, and I think our town manager also lives in there. But
that's correct.
I'm looking at the policy, so I really do not care where this impacts what. It's just I'm looking at it for the policy. But anyways, I did want to chime in on some of the stuff that we could include. Because there's a comprehensive plan and there's the land development code. Any changes to either of these could impact the other one further, and obviously there's unintended consequences, I guess. Our town attorney mentioned the grandfathering in rule or some sort that we could put in there for any existing things that this would impact. Also, I would maybe say add some language in regards to the definition on restoration and expansion as well, since the comp plan talks about that. So, because if someone is fixing something or redoing something, it could quickly spin out and say, well, I'm just going to redo it completely differently, and I'm going to make it bigger, or I'm going to make it, and then now you have that conflict. So I just wanted to bring that up. Also in the comp plan, there is a reconstruction section, which I think you kind of mentioned. If it's more than 50% destroyed or it needs to be reconstructed, then you have to bring it up to code. So I would assume that's going to impact that as well, that 50% rule.
That's correct.
But I think, yeah, if we address obviously some sort of transition for the existing stuff, you know, obviously that's the way to go.
Is council kind of in agreement and understand the problem? We want to bring as staff, we're kind of running into some roadblocks and, you know, some issues, and some people are getting upset because we're pointing out policies, but yet we understand back in the day, the town didn't enforce the policy that was on the book when this was built in the 80s, and that's just the reality of it. And, you know, we just need to kind of fix this and do it in a fair way to all the residents, but also try to keep fairness at the town staff level too.
But as of right now, how it sits, the change is mainly going to be in the land development code, I assume.
Yes, sir. Yep. That's correct.
Yeah, Aaron. I think Aaron wants to come up and speak.
Yeah, come on up.
Aaron Walter, 17647 9th Street. Yeah, the mic's not on, so I guess I can turn it on. There we go. There we go. So two aspects. Mike talked about how this came before P&Z. We didn't have a lot of information, and the way that it was written was all over town. Anywhere 45-degree angle slopes, that's extreme, and we didn't have town manager, we didn't have planner, we didn't have any information, so we're
Yeah, we heard all that.
defer, right? So I think scoped to existing scenarios, kind of that's different than anywhere, because that would have applied to any of the new developments, Osgood or Well Cleaner or anything else, versus existing grandfathered in, non-conforming is very much more narrow. Would this also apply to things like fences? So somebody who had a fence that's 8 feet, it's been there for a long time, it's now per the code non-conforming. If you go this route, could it be replaced with a 8-foot fence instead of a 4-foot fence because it's technically on a corner lot? Those kind of things is kind of where my thoughts were. I think it's right to let people restore a current fence or current structure to what it currently is if it's already existed prior to when it was there or the land code changed. So that's my only thought. So thank you.
And I'm glad, you know, you pointed out, that's why I said define the restoration and expansion, because there's no wording in there to check it. Somebody could say, well, I'm just restoring it and then make it bigger.
Yeah, I think our goal is we want to be very specific and keep this focused on slopes only, because that's where we're seeing the problem is that existing structures will be grandfathered in at the existing slopes, and something you still will be able to allow to do simple structures and building, you know, on those slopes, such as fences, driveways, sheds, things along that line. However, if you get into like a mother-in-law suite or habitable structure, then I think that's when engineering needs to pop in for anything that's not pre-existing. Is kind of where my head's going with it.
Also, one last note on my end, the comp plan does define severe slope as anything greater than 10%. So I don't know if that's also going to be impacted, or do we need to redefine that, or so just.
Yeah, we'll probably need to do some updates in the comp plan, and you know, we did that. We're gonna have to do some updates for the water system anyway, so we'll have Sean go through that and try to catch some of those and try to redefine the exceptions for those.
On my end, I think, you know, it's great that we're addressing. Obviously, there's a discrepancy that we wouldn't have known otherwise until people complain. So I'm on board, I guess, and to try to fix this somehow.
Okay. If council's okay with that general theme, we're going to kind of take a proposal to planning zoning and let them hash their thoughts out. We'll bring it back to you.
Sounds good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Alrighty, let's move on to the discussion regarding non-conforming structures.
Go ahead, Anita, if you want to maybe just pop in that just a little bit.
Yeah, so as I mentioned before, in your non-conforming use of land, lots, or structures that's in your code currently, if there is non-conformity, the goal of this section is to bring people into compliance with your new code. So that's the goal, and it gives you different steps that you can't increase a non-conformity. That's clear. You can't move it around on the property if it's non-conforming. If it's destroyed for some reason and it's more than 50%, then you have to come into compliance. If it's unsafe, you have to come into compliance. But the last one, this catch-all, is if there's an application for development approval is requested, all non-conforming uses must be brought into compliance with the LDC. We started looking at this because we had an inquiry of somebody had gone in to see Patty and Lisa on the Wednesday visits before they submitted an application, and it's an older home that's currently non-conforming. It doesn't meet the setbacks, and they want to greatly enhance the structure, and they have a lot of property on one side of it, but it doesn't help their situation with the setbacks, no matter where we say the front yard is, or the front setback, or the side setback, or rear setback. So in looking at it, it's definitely something that they're proposing that would make a great improvement to the property, the value of the property, which is, you know, beneficial to the town. But under this current language, we couldn't approve that, and so we talked about, well, can they get a variance? You can't really get a variance from a non-conforming structure. You can get a variance from setbacks, but it's still non-conforming, and under this, they just can't meet that. But they would be increasing the non-conformity with what they want to do. So we're looking for some direction on, you know, are there some non-conforming maybe setbacks, or I think that really is the issue in this particular case that we've run
Yeah,
into.
I really think setbacks are the issue, yeah.
Yeah, and I think some of the other properties that could potentially fall into this pot, they're never going to meet the setbacks. They want to improve the property. They want to improve the structure. They don't want to tear it down, and that's what's going to end up happening that they'll have to do. So we're trying to figure out if they are just non-conforming with regard to your setbacks. Is that something you would be okay with us writing a code that would allow, if the non-conformity is strictly, you know, a setback, can that be outside of this non-conforming code? I guess is what we're trying to get.
What would be an example of something like that?
Well, in the case that we have presented to us, they haven't filed an application yet. They're seeking some guidance from us, and they do not meet the front setback or the side setback or the rear setback. And they want to remodel the home inside and outside, and I think they have some encroachment into the town right-of-way that they would fix as part of this. I think their drain field is in the town right-of-way, and there might be somewhat of a wall or a driveway. There's something else that's encroaching into so they'll fix all that. But the front of the house does not meet your setback. So
As it is right now?
as it is right now, and they
Correct.
want to make improvements to the home. They want to expand it, not to further encroach into the setbacks, but expand it in ways that still just will not meet the setbacks.
On the sides?
On the sides, and
In the front, yeah. And these are generally homes built on the old lot and block sections of town that are older. In general, most of the newer homes all meet setbacks that are in subdivisions. So these are the outside subdivision homes. And, you know, they were just built, and I guess at the day they weren't checked. You also, another example would be kind of the area around First Street, Second Street, and all that, kind of down by the Truscott Park, that whole area, the whole railroad things, they're a mess from all the surveyors. There's a lot of houses in there that don't meet the setbacks or are a little bit off on the lot lines or things along that line. And we're in that situation. We can't approve a development application if they want to, add on to a bedroom or just add a garage on or tear a carport down and put a garage up. They can't do that under our code, right? They can't do anything. So we're trying to, all we can tell them is do knock the house and start over, and that's not a good scenario either. We don't want to tell them that. So I guess Lee and I would like to, if you guys are open to that type of policy when we run into these conflicts, try to create some type of system that gives them the ability to possibly build on. And maybe a thing that comes for council plan zoning might be administrative level. We need to kind of look and see what some cities are doing with that, and maybe come back with you with some ordinances.
But it sounds like it's just a small handful of historical homes that are in town, correct?
Yeah, I mean, it could be an 80s home or I mean, yeah, but basically the homes that aren't in a subdivision is where the problems are at. The older homes that aren't in the subdivision.
Could we tailor something so that, if your home was built prior to such and such a date, that, you could get this variance? Or just try not to open Pandora's box.
No, I don't think we want to. I think we want to kind of make it on a special case-by-case basis where there's, you have people that come for you that want to build in the lot line and they have other alternatives. And we're not talking about those. These are kind of an existing structure. They're there. They really don't have any other way to go. They could, I don't think we would allow them to continue to make it less of a setback issue. But if they had room on the side yard to expand, then and still stay in conformance with the new stuff they're doing, to me that makes a little bit of sense. So just as long as they don't increase the problem that they're having by creating more non-conforming stuff that's outside of the setbacks, but allow them to build, meeting the rule as if their house was correctly put in the right place.
Well, you two had a lot more time to think about this and more familiar with it. What bad things have you thought about and came out? Like, what's the disadvantages for us? Okay, in this.
Yeah, I mean,
You're
you
not
have a
gonna get
non-conforming
You're
structure.
not going to get all properties
Yeah.
into compliance with your existing code. I mean, that's what a non-conforming code is written for, is to make people come into compliance with your existing code. And we would be essentially creating an exception to that under certain circumstances. But in looking at the current house and what the owner wants to do, I think it's beneficial for the town to consider exceptions in certain cases.
How does this apply to the commercial district around 455? I know some of those buildings are pretty close to the lot lines as well.
Some of those, I'm not sure where a lot line is, 5 feet there and 0 on the front. I don't know, we would look into that, I guess, as a part of that. I can't say we really looked at the commercial district at all. But we can look at that as a part of this. It's not going to be a huge amount of properties or development applications you see. I mean, I think we've had maybe 1 or 2 others that may have come up since I've been here over the last 6 years, and this is the first one that really wants to do something now. They would like to improve their property and add on to it and make it nicer, but we can't give them a permit for anything.
Yeah, I think that if somebody's trying to improve their property and it will also improve their neighbor's property value, I mean, it only makes sense that we should be able to try to figure something out that benefits them. I mean,
Well, your idea about looking at other cities and what they've done and bringing it forward, give us some, some kind of thought. Might be a good idea.
I think that was our goal, is to plant these 2 seeds in your head, and staff will get to work and do the research and come up with something, and get some input from P&Z and be back to you. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, let's move forward. We got a resolution 2026-30, if you would, please, Anita.
Yes, and a revised resolution was posted. It's resolution number 2026-30, a resolution of the Town of Montverde, Florida, authorizing the entry into and execution of a grant agreement between the Florida Department of Environmental Protection and the Town of Montverde for the development of Kirk Park, authorizing and directing execution of the grant agreement upon receipt, providing for an effective date.
It said Lake Florence Park here.
Right, an amended resolution was sent out. Paul,
Just
when
changing
he
the name?
reviewed it, he realized that
All right.
I thought it was for Lake Florence Park was the grant, but it's actually for Kirk Park.
Okay, all right. Okay. You want to explain this,
And
Paul?
we did, yeah, so this is the $250,000 appropriation that we got for the playground at Kirk Park. And you notice we've done this one other time. There's no attachment to this. And under this DEP grant, they won't issue or put together the grant agreement until we sign authority to enter into the grant agreement. We had this with one other appropriation that we got. So when we get the grant agreement, I think we brought the final one back for you for a review, but we have to have power to enter into that agreement before they'll even draw the agreement up. So that's what you're seeing for you. Is just authority for me to sign the agreement, but I will say that agreement will come back for council for signature for final.
And actually, I have it written for the mayor and the clerk to sign it.
No, that's fine.
Okay. All right, well, I'll open up to the public. Anybody want to talk about this? Okay, I'll bring it back to council. Any discussion?
I just had a question for the town attorney. So the amended version of this resolution does meet the notice requirements, correct?
Yes, we don't have to have the specifics meet the, we just have to have the agenda item.
Thank you. That's all I had.
All righty, any other questions? Need a motion to approve or deny?
I'll make a motion that we approve resolution number 2026-30.
I have a
Second.
motion to approve. We need a second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Against, say nay. Ayes have it. Anything else the council want to talk about?
I just had, town attorney did send the amendment 3, I guess, update. I just wanted to see if you could just briefly explain it.
Oh, the one they just did in Tallahassee a couple of days ago?
Change of language.
Yeah, so the court ended up ruling that the language for the ballot summary and the title were misleading and incorrect. And so the Attorney General had 10 days from the date of the court order to provide revised language, or they could appeal. They didn't, the state chose not to appeal. And on August 13th, the Attorney General for Florida issued a new constitutional summary for Amendment 3, as well as a new summary. And the court did retain jurisdiction, so if this language is to be challenged, the same court would hear it. I didn't find anything that indicated that this language has been challenged. It's been out since the 13th, so I haven't seen any emails. Generally, I'll get some emails from attorneys saying we're going to pursue an appeal on it or challenge this, and I haven't seen anything. Not to say it won't happen, but there is a letter. You can find it on the Attorney General's website, and I did send it to council, so we have copies of it if anybody wants to see it. But it is, the new title is Increased Homestead Exemption, Lower Cap on Increases in Homestead Property Assessments. And then the description talks more about what the increases to the homestead exemption are, people who will qualify, the reduction in the annual cap on assessment increases for non-homestead properties from 10% to 5%, and doesn't include some of the language that the court called political, trying to convince, saying things that weren't necessarily accurate in the court's opinion.
Yeah, this was a big topic for us last week at the Florida League of Cities conference. They had big meetings and talked about it for quite a while. It's definitely interesting.
Question on that. So there's specific language where essentially it states that the municipalities could possibly increase the exemption past the 250, obviously at the municipal level. All right, can you elaborate on that?
So it states it requires the legislature to prescribe a uniform procedure for counties and municipalities for the respective levies to increase the homestead exemption up to full assessed value and allow special districts subject to referendum approval to do the same. There was language to that effect in the bill that was adopted in the joint resolution, where it provided that the legislature would come up with a uniform way that all the local governments would be able to essentially grant up to full homestead exemption, but we would have to follow whatever the legislature deemed in that procedure. They'll have time to do that before, and then the cities and counties would have to follow it. Whether that part will be challenged, because there was language, I think, in the challenge, the original lawsuit that was filed challenging it, that they didn't feel that the legislature should have that authority because of some language in the Constitution about homestead exemption.
All right, is that it?
I just wanted to clarify, last meeting, Mr. Frazier handed us a piece of, a packet that was making some of his grievances with the town and with the council. And he just falsely claimed that I stood by and didn't acknowledge the fact that his First Amendment rights were being abused. I just want to make it clear, anybody can look on the video. It was 11 and a half minutes after he was removed from the chambers that I was even appointed as a council member. So I just want to make sure that's clear with anybody that I had no dealings with that procedure at all.
All righty, thank you. It's on record now.
Thank you.
All righty.
Two last things, sorry. Do we have a reserve policy, like a specific policy on the reserves to maintain?
Under what? I didn't understand that, Brian.
So, like, obviously we have reserves, right? We have reserve funds. But is there a policy of some sort that the town has requiring us to have a certain amount in reserves?
Not that I know of.
No, we don't have any policy. We don't have a specific reserve account. We maintain cash balance accounts. So all the excess cash we just kind of let grow into the funds. And so we have those cash fund accounts, but not a specific reserve account set aside for any specific thing.
Mm-hmm. And do we have a social media policy?
No.
So I would recommend for us to look into both of those in the near future, explore those options. Just wanted to put that out there.
And social media was another class that we went to last week. It was pretty interesting. I'm glad I went. All righty, making a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor, say yeah, aye.
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 Against, say nay. Ayes have it. We're adjourned.
Thank you, council. Good night.
Thank you. Have a good holiday.